By the fourth day, the rain had softened, but neither Ilara nor Thorn spoke of her leaving. His wing was healing faster than she'd thought possible, the torn flesh already starting to mend. An odd little routine had settled between them. She'd tend to his wounds in the morning, gather herbs near the cave mouth in the afternoon, and their evenings were filled with conversation that stretched later and later. "Tell me about the world outside these mountains," Thorn asked one evening, his voice a low rumble. "It's been some time since I've seen it." Ilara paused her weaving. "How long is some time for a dragon?" He seemed to think for a moment. 73 years, I believe." Her hands stilled. 73 years? That's almost 4 human lifetimes. Why would you stay here so long?" A shadow passed over the dragon's ancient eyes. "The last time I flew beyond this range, I returned to find my mate's remains scattered across this very chamber. Hunters." Alara's face went pale. "I didn't know—" "How could you?" he interrupted, his voice laced with a deep old pain. "Your village tells tales of my deeds, but they don't speak of Saranya, the last female ember dragon. She died protecting eggs that never hatched. After that, there wasn't much reason to seek the company of the world." A heavy silence filled the cave. Ilara put down her weaving and walked right up to the massive dragon. Without a second thought, she pressed her palm against the warm scales of his snout. Thorn froze, completely still at the unexpected touch. "I can't undo a loss like that," she said, her voice soft but sure. "But I can tell you the world has changed. 5 kingdoms now have laws protecting dragons. The Royal University in Aldermere has a whole department for draconic studies. For research, not war." Thorn let out a skeptical snort but didn't pull away. "It's true," she insisted. "I came here partly for them. I'm documenting healing herbs that only grow in dragonlands, plants that thrive in soil touched by dragon fire." "So, you're a scholar, not just a healer," Thorn observed. Ilara shrugged. "I believe knowledge should serve life, not destruction." She hesitated. "And I believe dragons were never meant to die alone in mountains, nursing old wounds." Her directness should have angered him. Instead, he found himself respecting her. "And what about you, little healer? What wounds do you carry that made you risk coming here?" For the first time, Ilara's confidence seemed to waver. She went back to her seat, her fingers fiddling with the cloth. "My parents died in a plague 5 winters ago," she said quietly. "I was away at university. By the time I got back to my village, half the people were gone. Everyone I loved." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I spent years looking for a cure that came too late. So now, I gather knowledge to stop that from happening to others." "We are both survivors, then," Thorn said, a new understanding dawning in his eyes. They talked long into the night, the walls between them slowly crumbling. He told her of a time when a council of dragons ruled the skies, of battles with griffins, and of the secret language of dragons that no human had ever heard. She told him about growing up in her village, Willow Vale, about studying in the grand libraries, and her dream of bridging the gap between humans and mythical creatures. Suddenly, a sound from outside startled them, metal scraping against stone, followed by hushed voices. "Hunters!" Thorn growled, rising to his full, magnificent height. "Stay behind me." Ilara grabbed her pack, her heart pounding. "Wait! Let me talk to them first," she pleaded. "They might be from my village looking for me." "Or they might be carrying Dragonsbane weapons," he countered, moving to block the entrance. The voices were getting closer. Thorn took a deep breath, ready to unleash a torrent of fire. But Ilara darted in front of him. "Please," she whispered. "Trust me. If they're hunters, I won't let them hurt you. But if they're my people, I can't let you hurt them." Their eyes locked, dragon pride against human compassion. Finally, Thorn exhaled a plume of smoke. "Very well," he conceded. "But the moment I see a weapon, I act." Alara nodded and moved to the cave entrance. "Hello?" she called out. "Who's there?" 3 figures stepped into the moonlight, rangers from Willow Vale. Their faces went from relief at seeing Alara to pure terror at the sight of the colossal dragon behind her. "Healer Ilara!" One of them, a woman named Mira, gasped, her hand flying to her sword. "Step away! We're here to rescue you." "I don't need rescuing, Mira," Ilara said calmly. "Lord Thorn gave me shelter from the storm." The rangers stared, unable to believe it. The oldest of them recovered first, bowing awkwardly toward the dragon. "Lord of the mountain, forgive our intrusion. We feared the worst when Alara didn't return." Thorn studied them, scenting their fear. But they had shown courtesy. They were here out of concern, not greed. "Your concern is understandable," the dragon rumbled. "She is valuable to your people." Ilara glanced back, a look of surprise and gratitude on her face. She turned back to the rangers. "I've been treating Lord Thorn's wounds. My work here isn't done." "You're staying?" the youngest ranger asked, his voice filled with disbelief. "I am," she confirmed. "Go back to Willowvale. Tell the elders I'm safe. I'll return when I'm finished." After a lot of nervous discussion, the rangers reluctantly agreed. They left extra supplies and disappeared back into the night. As their footsteps faded, Thorn settled back down, looking at Ilara with a new kind of curiosity. "They would have died for you," he observed. "And you sent them away." Ilara walked over and checked the bandages on his wing. "Some work is worth staying for," she said simply. And for the first time in over 70 years, Thorn felt something shift inside him. It wasn't the pain of old grief, but the warmth of a new flame just beginning to burn. Thank you so much for watching this story unfold. If you enjoyed this journey with Alara and Thorn, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more tales from this world. We'll see you in the next chapter. 2 weeks after Alara arrived, a deep vibration shook the mountain. Stones skittered across the cave floor. Thorn, who'd been showing Alara his ancient scrolls, went completely still, the spines on his back bristling. "What is it?" Ilara asked, her heart jumping at the sudden change in him. "Dragons!" Thorn growled, moving toward the mouth of the cave. "Many of them, coming this way." Ilara followed, squinting against the midday sun. At first, she saw only blue sky. Then dark shapes appeared on the horizon. Winged silhouettes flying with purpose, heading straight for them. "I count 17, Thorn said grimly. "Shadow drakes from the western volcanoes." "Are they friends?" Alara asked, though she already knew the answer from the tension in Thorn's body. "No," he replied. "They serve my nephew, Kale, the Ashen Prince. A dragon with ambitions far beyond his worth." He turned to Alara, his golden eyes intense. "You must hide. Go to the inner chamber behind my sleeping quarters and do not come out until I call for you." But Alara stood her ground. "I'm not leaving you to face them alone. Your wing isn't fully healed." "This is not a discussion, little healer," Thorn rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. "Kale would see a human in my lair as proof of weakness, evidence that I've become a pet keeper instead of a king." Before Ilara could argue, the air was torn by the sound of powerful wings. A large dragon, with scales the color of charcoal and veined with purple, landed on the cliff edge. He was smaller than Thorn, but he carried himself with an arrogant confidence, his amber eyes gleaming with calculation. "Uncle!" the newcomer called, his voice dripping with false respect. "How gracious of you to greet us. I was afraid we might find you too feeble to even rise from your deathbed." Thorn moved forward, carefully blocking Kale's view of Alara. "Nephew, you bring quite an entourage for a family visit. Did you fear the journey, or just your aging uncle?" Kyle's eyes narrowed. I bring witnesses, Uncle, to a historic transition. Word has reached the western peaks that the great Ember King's flame is dimming. The dragon realm requires strong leadership. And you believe yourself qualified? Thorn's voice was calm, but Ilara saw the muscles in his shoulders bunch. I know I am, Kale replied smoothly. The Shadow Drake clans have pledged their allegiance to me. The Fire Serpents of the Southern Isles have offered an alliance. All that's left is for you to step aside, or be removed. A low growl rumbled in Thorn's chest. You were always ambitious, Kale, but never patient. A true king knows when to strike and when to wait. I've waited long enough, Kale snarled, dropping all pretense of respect. Look at you, Thorn, wounded, isolated, harboring a human pet. He gestured scornfully toward Ilara. Yes, I can smell her. How the mighty have fallen. Ignoring Thorn's warning glare, Ilara stepped forward. Lord Thorn has shown me more honor and wisdom in 2 weeks than you've shown in 2 minutes, Ashen Prince. A murmur of surprise ran through the watching shadow drakes. Kyle's eyes widened for a second before narrowing into slits. It speaks, he said venomously. How amusing. Tell me, human, do you know what happens to creatures who stand between dragons and power? I know the difference between power and strength, Ilara replied, her voice steady despite her racing heart. One is taken, the other is earned. Kyle let out a harsh laugh like rocks grinding together. Your pet is entertaining, Uncle. Perhaps I'll keep her when this is over. He refocused on Thorn. I challenge you for the Ember Crown, by ancient right and combat, unless you'd rather surrender it and save yourself the humiliation, the assembled dragons murmured. A formal challenge hadn't been issued in centuries. By tradition, Thorn couldn't refuse without giving up his title. I accept your challenge, Thorn declared, his voice echoing across the mountainside. 3 days from now, at high sun, in the Obsidian Arena. Kale looked momentarily surprised. He'd clearly expected Thorn to back down. 3 days? Why the delay? Afraid, perhaps? Tradition, Thorn corrected him. The challenge must be witnessed by representatives from all dragon clans, not just your followers. Or have you forgotten our laws in your rush for power? The younger dragon struggled to keep his composure. 3 days, then. Prepare yourself, Uncle. Your reign ends when the sun is at its peak. With a powerful leap, Kale launched into the air, his followers scrambling to join him. As they vanished, Ilara turned to Thorn, her face filled with concern. What happens in this challenge? Combat to submission or death, Thorn replied grimly. Traditionally between dragons of equal standing. But your wing is healing well, thanks to you, he finished. But not well enough. Kale is younger, faster, and he's been plotting this for decades. He wouldn't issue a challenge unless he was certain he would win. Ilara began to pace, her mind racing. Then we have 3 days to make sure he doesn't. Thorn looked at her, curious. We? Yes, we, she insisted. You've been alone for 70 years while Kale built alliances. You need help. And lucky for you, you have a human who knows a thing or two about healing, strategy, and surprising arrogant young dragons. Against all odds, a deep rumble of laughter came from Thorn's chest. And what does a village healer know about dragon combat? Ilara's eyes sparkled with determination. Nothing yet. But I'm a quick study, and you're going to teach me everything, starting with why they call you the Ember King. For the next 3 days, the cave was a whirlwind of activity. Thorn taught Ilara about dragon combat traditions, while she prepared special herbal concoctions to strengthen his body. They used ancient fire signal methods Thorn hadn't touched in decades to send messages to other dragon clans. On the eve of the challenge, Thorn found Ilara sitting at the cave entrance, gazing at the stars. You should rest, he said, settling beside her. Tomorrow will test us both. I was thinking about when we first met, she said softly. How certain you were that death was coming for you. It still may, Thorn acknowledged. Kyle is no ordinary opponent. Alara turned to face him, the moonlight catching her features. "But you're no ordinary dragon." She placed her hand on his foreleg, a now familiar gesture. "Whatever happens tomorrow, you've already proven him wrong. Your flame hasn't diminished. It was just waiting for the right moment to blaze again." Something shifted in Thorn's ancient eyes. Without thinking, he lowered his massive head and gently pressed his muzzle against her shoulder, the closest a dragon could come to an embrace. "If I fall tomorrow," he rumbled, "leave these mountains. Kyle will not honor your courage as I have." "If you fall tomorrow," Alara replied with fierce certainty, "it will only be after giving Kale a battle that will be remembered for generations." She leaned against his scaled face, a gesture of intimate trust. "But you won't fall. We still have too many scrolls to organize, and too many stories to share." Under the vast starry sky, dragon and human sat side by side, drawing strength from a bond neither had ever expected, but both now treasured more than anything. Thank you so much for watching this story unfold. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss what happens next. See you in the next video. The stolen scout ship was never meant for this. It wasn't built for deep space, for the crushing loneliness between stars. But here I was, guiding it through the obsidian belt, a cosmic graveyard where asteroids danced a slow, destructive waltz. For 2 weeks, I was a ghost in a metal shell, living on nutrient paste and recycled water. Sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford, snatched in short, anxious bursts while the scanners relentlessly hunted for a ghost of my own, Vrax's unique energy signature. "Come on," I'd mutter to the humming console, my voice thin in the recycled air. I adjusted the scanner parameters again and again. "Where are you?" The ship's computer, ever the pessimist, would chime in with its gentle warnings. "Fuel reserves at 18%. Recommended course? Return to nearest outpost." I'd just swiped the alert away. Returning wasn't an option. I'd come too far. Besides, there was this strange pull in my chest, a feeling that grew stronger every day, an invisible compass pointing me into the void. Then, on the 17th day, it happened. A blip on the screen. A faint energy trail, almost missed, leading toward a crystalline moon named Lumina, orbiting a gas giant at the very edge of the belt. Hope and fear warred in my chest as I adjusted course. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the silence of space. Lumina emerged from the darkness like a shattered mirror. Its surface was a breathtaking, jagged landscape of translucent crystal spires that captured the starlight and fractured it into a million rainbows. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. As the little scout ship descended into the thin atmosphere, my breath caught in my throat. I saw him. Vrax. His enormous body was curled around a mountain of crystal, his scales shifting between the black of obsidian and the deep blue of a midnight sky, drinking in the ambient light. That's when everything went wrong. Just as I started the landing sequence, the ship's systems screamed and died. I braced for impact. The ship scraped and skidded across the crystal plains, with a sound like tearing metal, a final, agonizing groan before grinding to a halt. I was less than a kilometer from him. The air on Lumina was thin, but breathable, cold. I sealed my thermal jacket, took a deep breath, and stepped out onto the moon's surface. My boots crunched on shards of crystal, each step sending shimmering ripples of light across the ground, a silent, luminous announcement of my arrival. Vrax's head rose slowly, a mountain unfolding. His eyes, 2 pools of liquid mercury, fixed on the tiny figure walking toward him. His massive body uncoiled, a silhouette of power against the starlit canvas. I stopped. My heart was a frantic bird trapped in my chest, but my feet held their ground. I didn't retreat. "You took everything from me," I shouted, my voice surprisingly steady. "My home, my parents, my future." The colossal dragon lowered his head, bringing his ancient face closer to my level. His breath washed over me, a strange, ethereal mix of stellar gases and cosmic dust that swirled in a glowing cloud. His voice wasn't a sound I heard with my ears, but a vibration that traveled through the crystals under my feet and resonated deep within my bones. "And yet you seek me," he rumbled. "Little Stardust, do you wish for death?" "I wish to understand," I replied, taking another step forward, closing the impossible distance between us. "Why Stellaria? Why us?" Vrax's mercury eyes narrowed, studying me with an intelligence that felt older than the stars themselves. "Your colony," he vibrated, the words heavy with meaning. "Harvested crystal from the belt's heart, crystal that once formed the nesting grounds of my kind." The truth hit me like a physical blow. "We didn't know," I whispered, the words barely audible. "No one told us." "Knowledge does not erase consequence," Vrax rumbled, a deep ancient sorrow echoing in his voice that mirrored my own grief. "Your species takes without understanding. You see resources where others see homes." The shared pain was a bridge between us. Without thinking, I reached out my small, trembling hand and placed it against the smooth, cool scales of his snout. A jolt, like static electricity, shot through both of us. Vrax recoiled slightly, not in anger, but in what looked like pure confusion. In his ancient eyes, I saw a flicker of surprise. No creature had touched him voluntarily in centuries. No one had ever looked at him with anything but pure terror. "I'm sorry," I said softly, my voice thick with emotion, "for what we took from you. But destroying us, it won't bring it back." He lowered his massive head again, and this time he allowed my hand to rest against his scales. The strange connection I'd felt, the pull that led me here, hummed between us. It was a fragile, impossible link between a cosmic predator and a human child, forged in shared loss. "Stay if you wish, little Stardust," Vrax finally said, his voice a gentle hum in my bones. "When the twin stars rise, I leave this place." As darkness fell completely on Lumina, I made a small camp near his resting form. The stars above were brighter than I had ever seen them. And there, under that brilliant canopy, beside the most feared creature in the galaxy, I slept more peacefully than I had since the day my world was destroyed. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving, I was beginning to understand. Thank you for joining me on this journey across the void. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more adventures. Until next time. Dawn broke over Lumina not with one sun, but with two. Twin stars cast a breathtaking wash of amber and cerulean light across the crystalline landscape. As the colors shifted and deepened, Lyra stirred from her sleep. She blinked, her eyes adjusting, and found herself in the protective coil of Vrax's immense body. The cosmic dragon was awake, his gaze fixed on her. "You're still here," she murmured, a hint of surprise in her voice as she rubbed the sleep from her eyes. "As are you," Vrax rumbled back, the vibrations of his voice gentler, less threatening than the day before. "I expected fear to drive you back to your broken vessel." Lyra pushed herself to her feet, brushing crystal dust from her jumpsuit and gathering her few remaining belongings. "My ship won't fly again," she stated, her voice firm. "Besides, I told you I want to understand." A low sound, almost a cosmic sigh, emanated from Vrax. He began to uncoil his massive body, a slow, deliberate movement that revealed the true scale of his power. He stretched wings that seemed to capture fragments of starlight, the membranes shimmering like captured nebulae. "Then come, little Stardust," his voice echoed, not just in the air, but in her mind. "But know this journey is not meant for fragile beings." Without another word, Vrax lowered his enormous body, his posture an unmistakable invitation. A space cleared between his massive shoulder blades. Lyra didn't hesitate. She climbed carefully onto his back, finding a secure position between two colossal scale ridges that felt like anchors in a sea of living obsidian. "Hold fast!" Vrax rumbled, a deep vibration that traveled from his scales directly into her bones. And then, with a single powerful thrust of his wings, they were airborne. Lumina fell away beneath them, the crystalline moon shrinking with astonishing speed until it was just a glittering speck in the vast, velvet blackness of space. A primal panic flickered in Lyra's chest, the vacuum, the cold, the lack of air. But it never came. She could breathe. A strange, shimmering field enveloped Vrax's body, a bubble of life-sustaining atmosphere generated by his very existence. "How am I breathing?" she asked, her voice filled with a wonder that quickly overshadowed her fear. "My kind create our own domains," Vrax explained, his thoughts flowing more directly into her mind now that they were untethered from the planet. "Space bends to us as we bend to it." For days they traveled like this, crossing unfathomable distances that would take even the most advanced starships years to navigate. It was a journey beyond physics, a flight through the very fabric of the cosmos. Lyra learned to read the subtle shifts in Vrax's movements, the almost imperceptible tensing of his muscles that telegraphed his intent. She came to anticipate when he would dive through the blazing corona of a star to feed on its raw energy, or when he would seek rest in the cool, silent shadow of a colossal gas giant. It was during one such rest, as they floated weightlessly within the shimmering, icy rings of an unnamed planet, that Lyra noticed something new. On the vast expanse of Vrax's scales, she saw intricate patterns she hadn't seen before. They weren't just markings, they were like a form of cosmic calligraphy, elegant and ancient. Reaching out, she gently traced one of the spiraling designs with her fingertip. "What are these?" she asked, her voice soft in the shared silence. Vrax remained still for so long that Lyra thought he wouldn't answer. The silence stretched, filled only by the whisper of ice particles brushing against his atmospheric bubble. Finally, his voice, a soft and sorrowful vibration, echoed in her mind. "The history of my mate, Astra, she who flew beside me when the stars were young." The words hung in the space between them. "You had a family?" Lyra asked, her own surprise echoing in the question. In response, images flooded her mind, not as a story told, but as a memory shared. She saw another dragon, her scales the impossible, breathtaking color of nebula clouds, soaring alongside Vrax. They danced through newborn solar systems, their joy a tangible force, a deep and profound connection that resonated across eons. The feeling of belonging was so powerful it brought a lump to Lyra's throat. The beautiful vision faded, leaving a hollow ache. "What happened to her?" Lyra asked softly, already dreading the answer. "A civilization long since turned to dust. They sought to harness her energy, to control the uncontrollable." His next thought was a dagger of grief. "They succeeded." Sorrow washed over Lyra, a shared wave of Vrax's ancient pain and her own empathetic grief for a being she'd never met. "Is that why you destroy?" she whispered. "For revenge?" "At first," Vrax admitted, the thought sharp with the memory of rage. "Then it became habit, and then purpose. When one lives as long as I, little Stardust, one requires reasons to continue." That cycle, as Lyra slept curled against the impossible warmth of his scales, Vrax kept watch over the distant glittering stars. He felt something stirring deep within his ancient heart, memories of connection, of love, of a life he thought had been buried forever beneath millennia of rage and solitude. The small human sleeping on his back was an echo of that long-lost connection. In the days that followed, their bond deepened. Lyra discovered she could communicate with Vrax not just with words, but with pure emotion and imagery. She shared her own past, memories of her parents, of the vibrant life on Stellaria before it was silenced. She showed him the warmth of a family meal, the joy of learning to pilot her first shuttle, the heartbreak of her planet's fall. In return, Vrax unveiled the universe to her. He showed her cosmic wonders no human had ever witnessed. She saw stars being born from swirling clouds of incandescent gas, the violent, beautiful dance of binary suns caught in each other's gravity, and the delicate, invisible patterns of gravity, waves rippling through space-time like water. One cycle, as they soared gracefully towards a small, jewel-like blue planet, Lyra finally pieced the fragments together. "Vrax," she began, her thought tentative. "The colony you destroyed. It wasn't just about the crystals they were harvesting, was it?" The cosmic dragon's thoughts darkened, a storm cloud passing over a sun. "No," he confirmed. "I sensed something there. A resonance. A terrible echo of the energy that was used to kill Astra. A weapon being developed." Lyra's heart sank. The name surfaced from the depths of her memory, a chilling whisper from her parents' past. "The stellar harmonizer," she breathed. "They said it could redirect cosmic energy." "It could enslave beings like me," Vrax corrected, his thought a blade of cold steel. "Turn us into living weapons, chained to the will of lesser beings." And in that moment, a profound understanding bloomed between them. It wasn't justification for the destruction he had wrought, and it wasn't forgiveness for the lives lost. It was context. It was the beginning of comprehension, a bridge built between two souls from opposite ends of the universe, united by a shared history of loss and a desperate search for purpose among the stars. The journey was far from over, but for the first time in a very long time, neither of them felt truly alone.